Hello everyone.
Hey.
Sorry for the slight delay in starting, usual technical hitches, but welcome to the second B23 Inspiration Dinner.
Yeah, already.
Yeah, already. Time's flown by. So we decided to do this one virtual. So we're live from the offices of Cornwall Channel.
Well, their studio, their wonderful studio.
Yeah, in this wonderful location in Bodmin. So we're doing a bit of a couch conversation approach this time.
Like a fireside without the fireside. Really nice setup studio space with sofas, very casual, very light.
Yeah.
Simon and I, your hosts for today, for the next afternoon with some special guests. And we'll just see what comes along. And the other opportunity is you can post in questions at any time.
Yeah, just in the comments, but you'll get a reminder as we go through. Hence, here's one just coming along the bottom of the screen. So essentially, we're going to go into presentations, then we're going to have some conversations, and then there's opportunities to ask questions in the Q&A. So I think we're ready to go over to the presentation first.
I guess one thing, we haven't said who we are.
Oh, no.
So, we often forget, because we're so passionate about the B Corp community, its growth, which we'll be explaining a bit further about, that we might forget who we are. So, I'm Matt Hocking, founder of Leap, passionate B Corp. Our agency was the first B Corp in Cornwall, the first B Corp design agency in the UK. And since 2015, we've been passionate advocates of B Corp movement and what it's all about, why you're here today and what we're going to be explaining. And I'll hand you over to my colleague Simon.
Yeah, so I'm Simon, I'm the MD at Leap. Interesting journey for me. I've been MD for 4 years, but one of the things that really drew me to Leap and conversations and joining was the fact that they were a B Corp. And that was a real positive thing for me to look for something in my career moving forward. We are the course directors for B23. Wonderfully supported by the people at Wildernet. This wouldn't have happened without the likes of Julianne and Helen and obviously Amanda as well in particular, and the creative team, Chris and co. So yeah, that's the intro. So if we go into the presentation, which we can share with you. So I'll just share roughly what we're going to do today. So the agenda is just really about talking more about the movement, talking more about obviously the B23 programme. We're going to be talking about the business case with a couple of existing B Corps. We're then going to talk about the process of becoming a certified B Corp. And then we're going to hear from two businesses who are part of the first cohort, which would really be insightful for anybody wanting to join this second cohort. And then we'll talk about how to apply. Final bit is just please ask any questions using the chat function on YouTube.
I think just to put in there, like today is an inspiration day. B23 cohort 1, we did a live in-person day, but we thought actually to push this out further for all those wishing to be involved, either online today and in the future cohort, which will start in September.
Yeah.
There's an application process. And it is for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly businesses on this case. We haven't got to the stage of taking it outside of the region yet, although there is plans for a Devon version, but this is for Cornwall and Isles of Scilly businesses. Okay.
Okay. Matt's just covered an element of it. So this was a acorn of an idea at the start, which was born from Wildernet wanting to help other businesses go on the B Corp journey. And they said, well, why don't we try and get 23 businesses going through the BIA.
Business impact assessment.
Yeah, business impact assessment, I should explain myself. So we started that journey back in January when we went to Eden Breakfast to introduce the idea, and then March was the first time when we held the Inspiration Day at our old Bakery Studios in Truro. From that point onwards, we did take those businesses, but we're actually inundated on that first application process, and so we were really blown away by the response, and we actually kind of made a decision back in April and May to actually, why don't we try and do this later in the year to help those businesses that didn't make the first cohort. And here we are again, Matt.
Yeah, I think it was a tough choice judging all the applications. We wanted to kind of create a diverse range of businesses, from solo entrepreneurs to large stakeholder businesses and everything in between. So keeping it very diverse in all shapes and forms, from ownership, style of business, to product to service based, and it is hard. And so it was really fortunate. I mean, just to acknowledge again, Wildernet within this is Helen Wild, CEO of Wildernet. This kind of initial, firebrand of an idea, 23 businesses doing it together, collaborative, in community, not just one business at a time. And then this has turned into this cohort of sharing supported individuals and businesses, hasn't it? It's easier to do something together rather than alone. So I just wanted to acknowledge that sort of Helen's idea in that, as well with the B23. And and the desire for this region, let alone other regions, local to global, that just really want to get on the B Corp journey. Not about the certification. That's an end point of the journey, but it's a continuous journey, whether you're certificated or not. And this is just what we envisaged, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Let's learn about the platform that's free to use, more so than the certification.
Yeah, great. So, as Matt's just covered, why B23? It's that excellent way, and this is the important thing. It was about all diversity of businesses, large and small, to really understand their impact, improve on it, have fun, and create long-term impact with their company. And then as well, meet like-minded people and businesses. That was the real start to the reason why we put together the program in the first place.
And I guess sharing. I think the thing is, when we're all behind the scenes as founders, CEOs, MDs, environmental position within the business, trying to figure out the B Corp journey. And when you're by yourself and you just got a computer and you're looking online, it can be quite hard. So part of this is just about opening up the conversation that we're all in this together. Yeah. Like when Leap did it, it was just me originally, and then later on Simon's helped go through it and other team members, but it was just me sort of floundering and excitedly working through the BIA. and the business impact assessment. We'll refer to it as BIA for the rest of the time, just to save words and time.
Same time.
And then the other side is it's always easier to do something with others, and actually having a kind of a buddy space, and this cohort has been outstanding, just to see the relationships form, and businesses see what it is like to be interdependent with each other.
Yeah, exactly. So who's it for? Very quickly, we invite any businesses, specifically leaders, CEOs, founders, sustainability managers, who are interested in social and environmental impact matters, becoming a certified B Corp, or just assessing their impact. That's what Matt was referring to. Using the BIA is a free tool. And networking and learning from like-minded peers. There is one specific, and we'll talk about this a bit more actually when we've got Paula on the table, in terms of operational businesses with more than 12 months. Because we... Go on.
Yeah, I was also going to say, yes, you've got to have at least 1 year's trading, because it's around measuring what matters, which is both for your financial side, and this will come up again, what you're doing, in impact community-wise, what is the difference your business might be doing socially, environmentally. I think there was one other thing that sort of came into my mind, with the last points. Could we just feed back to that slide a sec? I think it may come up later on, but ultimately the whole B Corp side of things is for businesses that are, we say like why social and environmental impact matters, but we're actually going back to the heart of the B Corp movement and the change we need in the world, which is redefining what success in business is beyond profitability, and it's profit for all. So it's okay to make profit, but there's this kind of like, how can we support communities and the environment? So it's a circular system that everything is abundantly supported, not just balanced.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Okay, so I'll just briefly talk about this. So the idea is we bring together that range of businesses across 5 sessions to help them navigate the BIA with the support of dedicated B guides, which we'll talk about in a second. And the idea is to bring that network of peers. There will be a session guest speaker each.
Surprise.
A surprise.
We like our surprises.
We do like our surprises. And one of the most important things that we had from the last session was about those inspiring environments as well. So we went across all kind of different locations as part of that. We went to Kabila, Halligan,
National Maritime Museum. Yeah. I think the thing is showing that business can take action and convene in alternative locations. So part of our role, we talk about community, well, why not support other organisations in the region beyond their normal tourism visibility? So, what is it like to have a convention or a conference in the middle of Bodmin Moor?
Yeah.
Or at the National Maritime Museum. So we're really, really lucky with all the locations that we sort of got involved with and partnered with, and each was able to offer an experience as part of it, which connects people deeper with sort of people and planet as well.
Yeah, that was really one of my highlights was the locations and so forth, and the wonderful picture in the background is from Halligan with a beautiful camellia.
And I think that's one of the things, I know we've got to be careful of time and me and my talking and meandering, but I think it is when you're looking at these things, it's not just, all right, we're online today, but it is looking holistically at people and the place and how can you have shared prosperity for all. So shining a light on some of these places that could actually complement other businesses in the future and say, oh, I actually hadn't thought about a wellbeing walk for our team. Yeah. And they got to see it as part of this course. And I think that's our pride in course directors. We've concierged it to the max for all.
Yeah. It's been a huge benefit to the destinations as well as to the cohort itself. Okay. Conscious we're probably quite behind time. Okay, so these are the key dates that you would need to have in your diary in terms of when the pillar sessions happen. We usually start for around about 10 o'clock and we go till 1. There's lunch provided as part of the offering as well. And then, as Matt said, we tend to invite people to either stay in location or enjoy one of the wellbeing
Yeah,
walks
experience
or
something of the place that you're in
Yeah.
that you might not expect. So if you're there, you can only, is it 1 or 2 people from your team is allowed? I can't remember what our numbers are.
It's one per team member, just because of limited numbers. But I think it would be good for people to realise that actually try and block out most of the day for those.
Yeah, I would, and you could also use it afterwards just to, I know it's a lot of information sometimes when you do these things, but actually if you call it a focus day where you get a bit of time, lunch time, inspirational speakers, and then maybe you could spend a bit of time afterwards in that place, you know, or somewhere close by, just working on your business impact assessment, should you choose to.
Yeah.
I know it's a busy world, but if you can allow time, it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think it is. Okay. So let's talk about the movement. Why B Corp? These numbers seem to go out of date literally day by day. Really,
These days, from the days when we were like the 70th B Corp in the UK, and there was 1,000 of us around the world.
Yeah, there's a little task for anybody who can drop in their comments if they can spot me and Matt in that crowd of people.
Yeah, where are we?
Where are we?
Yeah, you may get a prize.
You might get a prize as part of that. But
it's in Amsterdam, by the way. That was at the B Corp Summit. Be the change, or was it Lead the Charge? Wasn't it? I think it was Lead the Change. So
back
in Amsterdam, 2019, we got the train from St Austell all the way through to Amsterdam and back.
Yeah, it was a really great event. But the idea is that with the most challenging global problems cannot be solved by governments and non-profits alone. By harnessing the power of business, B Corps commit to positively impacting all stakeholders. That's the really important thing. It's about workers, community, customers, and our planet, not just shareholders.
Being part of the solution, not just being part of the problem. Governments will get there in the end, but we need to take a lead. And you're probably already doing this in your business. You might not be a B Corp. The B Corp's not going to give you purpose. You have your purpose already.
Yeah.
It is basically, this is kind of like ring fencing that purpose and giving it even more direction.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of that economy at the moment, it's 7,000 plus. I've just had to alter this slide because Matt's just aware of how many we're up to. It's working across 93 countries, 161 industries with one unifying goal: to use business as a force for good.
Well, it's actually it is that, but it's actually that line, redefining success in business.
Yeah. So the B Corp community in the UK, 1,400 plus certified B Corps, 283 so far in 2023. I would say that's probably more like 350 at the moment. There's a total revenue of 20 billion, employing over 60,000 people. B Corps are represented across 58 industries in the UK, and there are close to 28,000 businesses using the BIA, the Business Impact Assessment, with 1,100 daily active users and 150 counts every week. The graphic there is not up to date in terms of the numbers. Southwest, in particular Cornwall, thanks to Matt.
Not just me, just the desire for the B Corp community.
We have a thriving community in the Southwest. Cornwall being one of the fastest growing outside the
largest growth cluster outside of London capital city, and UK, the largest B Corp marketplace on the planet now.
Yeah, one of the stats that we have seen an improvement is the recognition of the B Corp logo. And this is some research done by B Lab with a kind of recall of around about 34% of general public knowing what B Corp or recognising the B Corp logo. So that's grown dramatically in the years of since 2015, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're short on time, but I remember Tom from Finisterre saying when he became a B Corp, we were at Eden. He announced we were all on stage at Eden. And Tom announced, and people were clapping. There's about 180 people in the audience, but they were like, you could tell they were clapping like with, what are we clapping? What's he just got?
Yeah.
However, because B Corp comes from the US originally, and then there's B Labs, the charitable partner that runs the B Corp certification globally. But when he went to America and said he was a B Corp, he said people were like up in the audience cheering and shouting because they know what it means. Now it's getting that way, you know, in the UK, and the regions are all activating this.
Yeah. Great. I won't read all these stats here as well, but the UK is one of the fastest growing B Corp communities in the world. There's over 500 B Corps in London, so that makes it the capital of B Corps. The other real interesting things about is the strong performers of the of B Corps compared to traditional businesses. There's some stats about fastest growth in turnover, employee headcount, greater levels of employee retention, engagement, and diversity. These are some of the kind of the reasons why the business case, why people become B Corps. And last year we saw 165 UK B Corps being honoured with the best of the world. So that's the top 5% of B Corps in the world. And as I mentioned before, Southwest and in particular Cornwall, the fastest growing UK regions outside of London.
I'll just say on that top 5%, because everybody gets a score, you need 80 points above, which will come later in the presentation, that's how they get that in each of the pillars. I just wanted to say, though, B Corp doesn't define your business. I'm going to kind of reiterate that through. So you'll already be doing what you do. One other thing to take note of is do your own research as well, because the slides, literally the moment you do a slide, it's out of date. This is going to be one of the things. So, you know, the B Corp, the UK B Corp, capital growth, capital city, those stats are already out of date. You know, probably in the time we've been speaking, this hour or so, you'll find that there's probably 2 or 3 new B Corps being certified as well. It's getting faster and faster. And the last thing in that short space of time that I keep using more time from is there are other certifications out there. We're talking about B Corp, but again, do your research. You know, we love what B Corp does and is part of in our business, that framework, but it might not be for you. So this is what the Inspiration Day is for, it's giving you a taster. This is what the cohort's for, is to give you more of an idea about each pillar. But there are other certifications out there.
Yeah, okay. Final few slides and then we'll go to interviews. Just so you're aware, this is not the great thing about the B Corp movement is the fact that it is a movement. It's not just about the certification. So once you become a B Corp, there's things like the Beehive, there's working groups, there's B locals, and there's events and campaigns. So plenty of stuff happening. It's the kind of it's like waiting for the bus. Once you're on the bus, that's the,
and you could do your own things as well. You know, it's like, you know, when we first started doing this, it was because we were the only B Corp. We had no B Corp friends, so we just wanted more B Corps in the region. There were businesses that were already very purpose driven, and it was really just a conversation, just like this conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so last couple of slides. Let's talk about what makes B Corp unique. So the elements of them is it's not just the certification process. It's the analysis, but then there's the legal change, which we'll talk more about later. And we just touched on the other point about being a global community. That's really important as part of this. There's a number of kind of reasons why businesses certify, and we've got 2 organisations that are going to join us shortly, which will talk about those particular reasons why they certified in the first place. But these are some of them. It's about leading a movement, about protecting missions, it's about amplifying voice, it's about building relationships. Attracting talent is one of the key things that in particular works for a lot of organisations, but also improving your impact.
And I guess overarching over all of that is, what is the legacy you want to do with your business to make a difference for now and future generations? I mean, that's big, but ultimately we can again be part of a solution or part of the problem. So, you know, I'd say what is the legacy you would like to be part of?
And then just going back to this slide, which is just about the moral decision-making process. It's just sometimes when we have the conversations about people becoming B Corps, there's a number of senses that are going through people's ideas about the moral decisions to become a B Corp. So these are just some of the kind of general kind of states of how people are feeling as they're deciding to take on the BI journey. I think that we're ready to go to interviews now, actually.
Yeah. And I guess in all of this is what B23, idea inspired by Wildernet and their desire for becoming a B Corp, which they submitted in the last cohort, excitedly, with 4 others of our 24 businesses in the end. And yeah, ultimately this is just, the whole cohort's there just to help, isn't it? And have those conversations to help you decide. There's no expectation that if you join us to instantly become a B Corp, 'cause that's going to take you maybe a year going through the process and stuff, or from when you submit. We'll go into this further. But it is that just opportunity to learn together, isn't it, really? And actually make an active choice in where you see your business going on top of what it's doing already. So, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
We'll be back shortly.
Yeah, time to switch sofas.
Now, we may feel that we're all doing our bit as businesses for the environment and sustainability, but there's an organization that exists now called B Corporation. And they're putting the rubber stamp of approval on businesses doing their bit for the environment and sustainability practices. I've come down to see our friends Wildernet here at the beautiful Cabina to find out their first workshop day is going on. There's 22 other Cornish companies along with Wildernet who are taking the journey with Wildernet to B Corp status.
It's been brilliant, an eye-opener, I think, of all the work that lies ahead. I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as anyone thought, but already there's quite a team feel, quite a community feel, so I think we're all going to be kind of checking in with each other, tapping into each other and pinching bits off of each other to make it a little bit easier, but I'm really excited to be part of it.
I think one of the things I found with Wildernet and getting to know them over the last few months, they've got such a community energy behind themselves, and actually we need that energy at the moment. You know, these are difficult times in lots of different regions around the world and locally, and I think having these bright sparks that bring your community together and connecting are really amazing. And I think I found it fascinating to spend time with Wildernet and their appetite for community engagement, and send locations, bringing other businesses together, journeying together. And actually in the B Corp language, it's kind of like, that interdependent community and sharing the journey rather than us in our silos, working off on our own little pots kind of thing. And this is, I couldn't ask for a better happening. And somebody that's kind of like a proud father moment as that we got the potential to double the size of the B Corp community just from this inception, really.
I'm so thankful to Wildernet and to Leap for providing this opportunity. It's been fantastic. It's been great to meet other like-minded people, but what's been really great is knowing that I've started a journey with other people, that I'm getting the help and support that we're going to need to get through this process. If I was to do it on our own, probably there'd be other things that get in the way and I wouldn't get the job done. But because we have a series of other meetings and one-to-ones between the pillar sessions, there will be some kind of accountability for me to be to the help. So it's great. And I think, we really care about our community, we care about our staff, and we care about our planet. So this is to become a B Corp is a big thing for us. We just want to be there to make a difference, to start to make a change.
Do you know what? I'm a huge fan of networking in general anyway. I'm a member of many networking organisations, not only here in Cornwall, but around the UK. And today I get that real buzz, that feeling of people coming together, collaborative thinking, people doing great work together. And that's what's happening right here. Wildernet have brought these 22 other Cornish businesses together as one to work towards one common goal. And it's really, really great to see. Now, you can follow the journey of the B Corp status with Wildernet through their social pages and also ours at the Cornwall channel and also Corca Media. But anyway, the lunch looks absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go and grab some. I'll see you next time.
Welcome back. And we are joined by Harry Young Jameson, who is the Managing Director of St Abel Candles. And we've got Tracy Wilson, who's Head of Marketing and Communications at Smile Together Dental CIC. Proud B Corps?
Absolutely proud. It was well earned.
So going on from the presentation that we just made, we talk about the business case and why organisations become a B Corp. What was your motivation? I'll start with you, Tracy.
Yeah, it was very deep-rooted for us, actually. We've set up in 2016 as an employee-owned community interest company. So mission was always at the core of everything we did. And we have a very robust governance structure in place, not just for the dental patient care that we provide, but for the impact that we deliver within our communities. And our strategic impact group is chaired by our good friend and partner, Chris Hines, MBE. And Chris inspired us and really motivated us to follow the B Corp route. And you're right with some of the research you discussed earlier. You know, lots of us had never really, we'd kind of heard of B Corp, didn't really know what it was, didn't really know what it meant for us as a business. But he persuaded us down this route of, certification. And it's been absolutely brilliant. And it's not been so much about shining a light on the impact that we have and the work that we do on behalf of our patients and our communities, but it's also differentiating us as a business. We one of our biggest challenges as a business is recruiting enough dentists into the county. We can now go to major dental shows nationally, London, Birmingham, and put up big photographs of the B Corp logo in a heart written in the sand at Godrevy Beach. So it catches attention. So it does help to differentiate us and brings out that difference that we are. But also that ability to influence others. So we were the first B Corp, first dental practice in the UK to become B Corp certified. So for us, it's about, we realise there's a long way to go within our sector, but also influencing our supply chain and other partners and just helping others see that it's great to be a business doing good, really.
And I think just over that, and, full admiration for what Smile did. I know how determined Chris is as well, having worked under him at Eden Project. Two observations just from what you're saying there. First, my daughter was looking for a new dentist the other day. Dad, did you know in Cornwall there's a B Corp dentist?
Amazing.
It's my 18-year-old daughter who doesn't pay much attention to some things, or I don't think she actually is probably paying attention to lots of things. So that was really exciting. I said, yeah, Smile. And she goes, yeah, I didn't know there was one.
Oh,
so
amazing.
And teeth is big for that generation as well.
Yeah.
So the other side of things is just to acknowledge the amazing things Smile were doing from, as you said, from day one, and that constant improvement. So it met B Corp, and like a lot of organisations, you didn't necessarily require B Corp, but it celebrates in a way what you were already doing, and that continuous improvement for your own industry, internal to external. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well, how brilliant Smile was already doing that. Because I think sometimes for our audience, they might think that B Corp would just make the business. The business is already making, it has the purpose and is doing all the right things. It's just acknowledging that, and then what more can we do? And we'll have the same for St Everil in a minute as well. So I think just wanted to acknowledge how brilliant from day one what you were doing. And it was born out of seeing the industry as well, wasn't
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah.
Harry, same question to you. Why B Corp?
Why B Corp? Good question. So we've been going now nearly 30 years. So founded in 1993, and ethical and sustainable business has been a core part of what we do for a long time. We've been kind of leading the way with solar panels, wind turbines, things like that. And we were really looking around on where to go next. And B Corp for us was two things really. It was understanding where we got to on what had been quite a long journey, and then also looking ahead and inspiration for the future. And that is where we saw a lot of value in the
Okay.
process. It identified so many things that we'd never thought about.
Yeah.
And we've gone on to put those in place while doing the certification and beyond. So yeah, it's had a big impact on our organisation and it's helped us drive a lot of positive change.
Good. I'm going to ask you about the process, which I know was long for both of you. How long was that process? How was it? And did you have any help on the way?
Do you want me to go
Yeah,
first?
I'll go there first.
Okay.
Be honest.
It was a long process, for sure, and we were discussing this earlier. It took a good couple of years,
Yeah.
not for any other reason, I think, than, we got caught up in the pandemic and there was a bit of a delay. That did lead to a bit of frustration internally, because the way we did it, we allocated the B Corp impact assessment tool was pretty straightforward, but we allocated different aspects of that to different colleagues, and they became responsible for gathering the data,
best
gathering
way.
the evidence, responding. We still had one person, my colleague Nick Wills, who was the point of contact with B Corp. It was best to funnel through that one individual, but each of us had an area that we were responsible for. And, when you've gone through all that effort and you've pulled it all together and then it kind of just goes really quiet. And poor Matt, you were a great help to us.
No worries.
No, you were a great help. It was like, no, don't worry. This is, this is happening
normal.
all across the world.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with you as a business. Persevere, keep
and you
going.
hit that tipping point as well where, I guess the pandemic, it was like, who had time to take action and who it actually became something that wasn't achievable. It just had to be survive and things.
Yeah.
So, and then that's where we saw this huge growth. The UK go bang.
Oh, yes.
And, many of us have been out cheerleading for a long time and we were hoping for this tipping point, but then you don't think about the background. It's like, it's not fine with us being advocates. So well done on persevering in that. And I think it's one of the things as well for this journey is it's not a quick bang, you tick some boxes and you're there. There's a lot to do through it. And so your own, again, determination is the right word for both organisations.
But I have to say, we did have a lot of help.
Yeah.
I think that the Cornish B Corp community is incredibly mutually supportive.
Great.
We had a lot of help from the team at Leap. Chris Hines, as I say, he was chairing our impact group anyway. So he was a great
and
advocate for B Corp. And people like Scott at Ward Williams Associates, they'd got there before us. So when we were struggling with certain elements of the assessment process, Scott was able to put us in touch with other people that could help us and just give us a bit of advice and guidance. And I'd just say to anyone that is worth its weight in gold, actually, having that community.
And then it's reciprocal, isn't it? You then pay it forwards as well.
Yes.
Like today, showing up for our audience.
helping
And it's better for us to share other stories and always being Leap and things. This is about the community. It's not about any one business. It's about all of us together.
Harry, how about your process?
So yeah, I'm probably an example of how not to do it in some ways, and that's probably going to be helpful for some people on this call as well, hopefully. So I did the impact report at St Neville, and I had help from the team. So I went around the organisation and got help with the various sections, but we didn't really engage with the B Corp community as much as we should have. We just didn't really know enough about it and realise that it was kind of so there for us and available. But the best advice that I got early on, and I can't remember who told me this now, but it was really just to make a start and just do it.
Yeah.
So that's the impact report, and so I did that. If I couldn't answer a question, I just moved on.
Yeah.
If I could, have a guess at it, I would guess it. And what was great about that was I got to the end and I had a kind of initial indication of what our score was. And then we just went back over and over and over again, just raising the score a little bit more evidence here. Where I think when we got to sort of the first submission, we were at about 92. And then that came down to sort of where we are today, 85, through the audit process. But yeah, just the lessons for me were just make a start, iterate, constantly refine it. And what I wish I'd done was engage in the community more and ask for help more outside the organisation. The team were great internally and we figured it out. But anyone who's doing the impact report will probably know, you know, you get the question, you think, what does that mean? And maybe it's better now, but when I was doing it, go into the description and you're even more confused than when you started. And at that point, you know, I should have been going around saying, picking up the phone and saying, you know, Matt, Simon, can you give us a hand? How do I do this? But we figured it out and we got there, and it is possible. But there's more. You don't have to struggle alone. You can seek help.
And I think there's two things. Thank you, Harry Tracy, for that. I think there's two things that come up there, which may come up later on. Is firstly, you need 80 points and above to become a certified B Corp. So for anybody that wasn't sure, so there's a lot of questions that could lead to that. But yeah, we're striving for 80 points and above. So your scores are, I think, for both organisations. I mean, yours is very high, but then you have a load of social impact business models already within the organisation. Your governance stuff. You're in, is it 120s, 130s?
Yeah, we did 122.9, so it was high. But you know, being employee owned, immediately scored a whole bunch of points, which was great. And you know, and again, that's hard one to embed employee ownership. So then you have to evidence how being employee owned benefits your company, benefits the people within it. So it did all come together, and like you say, the track record in social impact was pretty.
And your
it was there
as well,
and the governance model.
And again, I know Harry, you'll say about the score, but also it isn't about who's got the biggest score. That's great, and you could be first in the industry, but actually, again, Harry said, getting started, it's getting that first score, and that was the other point, and then go back to Harry, just about your points, is ever improvement. So even once you are a B Corp, 3 years later, you've got to recertify again, so it's continuous work. So when you said you submitted with sort of 90 something, so a nice buffer from the 80 points.
Yeah.
And sometimes this can go up, sometimes it can go down. You know, ours went down by 2 points on our recertification. You know, previous one it went up by 10 points, didn't it? So how did you get? What was your score in the end?
So I think our auditor, someone at B Corp advised us saying, well, ideally it's good to kind of, you know, go in with a few more points than you know, a bit above the pass rate, because chances are you're going to lose some through the audit process. So we worked really hard to kind of move that score from kind of 82, 83 to the early 90s, kind of thinking, well, then we might get some reduction there when it came to auditing. And yeah, that turned out to be the case. But yeah, I think to go back to what you were saying about the not getting fixated on the points, I think that's really important. I think it's really about all the opportunities within the impact report to improve, and we've really kind of taken that to heart and moved it forward.
You find actually those, I remember Tom from Finisterre going the first time when they got certified, oh Matt, I only got 80.5. It's like, it's not only, you're a B Corp. End of story. You've got a supply chain, really hard. I'm like a surfboard, you know, Leap's easy, agile, service-based. Anyone with a supply chain, very
big
different,
challenge,
or multiple stakeholders, bigger teams. So we were a small team, but it's being in the community and then working with the community and internally with your business to look at that score and what are the right improvements for the business that will sustain the business. You don't want to just like add things to the business just for the sake of getting points that you can't uphold either.
Yeah, on average, businesses score kind of below the 50 mark in terms of average business.
Bottom line, standard profit organising that hasn't kind of got people and planet of some level embedded in.
I'm just going to ask the question, and then we'll go to any questions from the audience.
Listeners.
Just quickly, what's the main benefits you can see from being a B Corp?
There was one very immediate benefit for us that came through very quickly, evidenced by the assessment tool, in that we did score pretty well in most areas. When we got to the environmental impact section, sustainability, we kind of all looked at each other and thought, gosh, we need to do so much better here. We scored pretty badly there. And that's really where our score came down.
Okay.
So what that did for us was made us sit there and think, actually, we need to embed sustainability and environmental considerations much more at a strategic level within the business. So, you know, it's something that the board thinks about now within the impact governance framework that I mentioned earlier. We've strengthened environmental awareness. And there's all sorts of things that we've been able to do. You know, we've transformed the fleet into electric or hybrid vehicles.
Yeah.
We appointed a purchasing specialist to help us procure more sustainably. You know, some big ticket items that we did. But also colleagues were like, oh, right, environment's important. Well, we'd like to do this in our practice location, and we'd like to do that. And even the smallest things can have the biggest impact.
Yeah.
So we have this structure, we can hear what they say, and they've come forward with their ideas, and it's been great.
Yeah.
So that was one immediate benefit.
Yeah.
And that's that thing, it's that ever learning, isn't it? You know, we can get used to our own ecosystems and you get to dive in, it starts shining a light on things and you just go, actually, when is right to do this? Or do we need a funding bid? Or we get to these profit levels? I have the same question for you.
Yeah, Harry, what were your...
Yeah, I think three things. Community, so joining the community, being a part of it, and all the benefits that brings in terms of support, contacts, and general advice. And then engagement. In our organisation, it just enabled us to engage with our people in a totally different way. And, you know, the B Corp assessment helped us do that. We started doing engagement surveys, which we hadn't done before. And that kind of helped just move everything forward so much quicker because we were getting information about people actually what they actually wanted. And then we could align that with kind of some of the goals that were connected with the B Corp side of things. And then finally, the third one, recruitment. It's just cropping up more and more in interviews now. B Corp certified, I want to work for a B Corp. It's just happening.
And retention as well. And I think another thing in there, I'd be interested, like your suppliers, you know, had they asked any questions? Because obviously you would have had to ask new questions of them, but if any of your suppliers said, hey, we'd like to know about B Corp. I mean, WorldNet have got some quite significant plans for, you know, where they would like to have conversations with their suppliers. And we know other B Corps are actively kind of using the BIA to look at their supply chain. I just wondered what your supply chains had sort of thought yourselves.
Well, we, with Holly, our purchasing specialist, she started reaching into our supply chain a little bit more deeply and having the conversations about, you know, how do you run your business and what are your ethical, social, you know, environmental impact? What's your approach to it? And that's been quite interesting for us. It's not to say we would move suppliers, but a lot of them were local anyway. But it's about, like I said at the very beginning, it's just about inspiring others to think about doing business for good. And many of them are receptive to this. We had a number of national dental equipment suppliers came to our Smile get-together in May, and they brought eco switches along with them so that colleagues can touch and feel and see. You know, we can't compromise infection prevention control measures within the surgery environment, but we can look for alternative items of equipment that perhaps we could use.
Innovation and stuff,
But it's down to the clinical teams. So having the suppliers there, you know, demonstrating some of these items was really helpful.
Yeah, love it. All right.
Our side, supply chain. So we're a manufacturing company, so we've got big, complex supply chain, and we've just completed our impact assessment, impact report that we're about to send to all our suppliers, which is exciting and hopefully going to start a lot of new conversations there. But to give you some insight, we were at a European Candle conference recently, and the room was asked, you know, how many B Corps are in the room? It was us.
That question.
Yeah, us and one other company, a French candle maker. Out of 100 in the room, so still
the whole audience turns you
so and a lot of people didn't know what it was. It's still, I think it's important to remember that obviously when you're in the community you can feel like we're getting a lot of traction, and we are, but there's still a lot to do and a lot of companies out there, especially in our experience in Europe, that just don't know about it yet.
Although B Lab Europe's very progressive, but again, it's who you know. It is an echo chamber like anything, you know, a club, whatever, and it is breaking out the mould, hence why we're online today, as well as, you know, this is for Cornwall, but now anyone can tune in. But I love that, but you know, what you said about the conference, but then it always takes, you know, I don't know, I've got a favourite film online, TEDx one, which is called The Lone Dancer, How to Create a Movement. And it's not, which you should watch if you don't know it. And it's actually not the lone dancer that is the leader, it's the first follower that is the leader, that acknowledges that something new is the thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's what all the early B Corps in each of your sectors are. Now, you know, when Leap became B Corp, there were 70 of us. There wasn't many. Now we've got thousands in the UK, 1,000 plus in the UK, 7,000 worldwide. But there are still these pioneering organisations like yourselves that have stood up, done the action. We're already doing the action to then become the next leaders to go, yeah, why don't we have a conversation? Isn't it? You know?
Yeah, particularly within the industry. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, 2 is amazing, really.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I have 100 in that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll go back in a couple of years and there'll be another
And
couple.
who you might have inspired.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
in that thinking,
Yeah.
actually, we should do that. And, you know, if you've got an 18-year-old daughter going, here's a B Corp dentistry, you know, so...
Referencing it and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff as well. I'm just searching for questions in the chat specifically, mainly around about are we sharing the slides, which we will do, and obviously the recordings and so forth. There's one question.
We had Amanda from Weybridge, is she left?
Amanda from Weybridge
Yeah.
is online somewhere. There's one question from Darren. Would it be helpful to have resources like templates, surveys, direct access to B leaders in the context of each BIA question during your certification journey? Is quite a complex question, but I think it's about information
Your policies.
and having some kind of easier way of compiling on all of that and bringing it into one place that it's easy to access.
I guess how did you, for each of when you were doing your business impact assessments, the methodology, you know, was it like a Google Drive folder or something where you brought everything in, you already had the resources because you are, I don't know what the size of each organisation is now, 100 plus?
Yeah, it's about 130.
We're
plus.
60.
Yeah.
We're 60.
Yeah, we're 11, so, you know, it's simple.
Yeah. Well, no, we did have a shared drive where we kept documentation, because what was important was, you know, there was certain key people involved in the process, but if one of those was to be taken out of that process, we wanted to know exactly where they'd got to.
Yeah.
And we did come together every month and looked at where we were, how we were doing. We each reported on progress that we'd made, where we were having difficulties finding some evidence or some data to support it. One of our advantages, I guess, of being a community interest company is that we've legally had to produce an impact report every year.
And a social enterprise for you as well?
Yeah, social enterprise. So it has
and
to
you
go.
had a mission lock already from
Absolutely.
that as well,
So there were certain things we were used to doing that
Yeah.
that kind of I picked up when I first joined the organisation
Yeah.
in a marketing sense.
Yeah.
But having that regularity and keeping us together on a regular basis and having that central place for the documentation, I would say is critical.
Yeah.
And I guess for legacy as well, when other people come into the audience, it become part of your staff handbook and things. Look at here. How about for yourself?
Again, how I did it, not how I would suggest doing it, but if I did it again, or when we do it again, we would run it through Asana, our project management system, software, and have a shared drive and do all those things, do it properly. But I think, as probably many people on the call, at smaller organisations, you're juggling other things and fitting it in around other things. So, we got there, but I think on reflection, we could have done it. I could have done it in a more planned way.
But then it is learning, and I think going back to that question, Simon, like ourselves, for what we've done for as course directors for B23, is for anybody who participates, there is a shared drive for the cohort, and we've divided that up into the pillars, and you've got policies and stuff. But the thing is, it's got to be your language, your policies. You can't just have a load of templates like the will writing one in W.H. Smith or something and write it. You've got to know it yourself. You've got to believe it and act on things that are generally for your business. So, but we have a huge resource for everybody that participates. And that resource is building because as we bring in new cohort members, they then share their policies. And we had like Mark Cuddigan was one of our surprise guest speakers at our last cohort. So CEO of Ella's Kitchen, so B Corp community member coming down to Cornwall. And he said, you can see our staff handbook and you can see this guide and put us in touch with his marketing team. So that's, again, how good the sharing can be. But I will always say the policies and the templates need to be owned by you.
Couldn't agree more. You
Yeah.
can't just take them off the web and put the St Evil
Yeah.
logo on the top. It just doesn't. It has to
Yeah.
ring true. It's
Yeah,
got to be in your
why is
language.
there a candle in your tourism business? Yeah, sorry.
We've got one more question, and then we do need to wrap up. So we've got a question from Amy. It would be great to have any of your suggestions of different ways of how to access the community before becoming certified. So, Tracy, you obviously reached out a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess that comes down to being community interest company and employee owned, because particularly the employee ownership piece, our colleagues have been encouraged ever since we formed to come up with ideas of things we could do in their local community.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my advice. Talk to the people within the organisation and just see what ideas they have. And sometimes, like I said earlier, the smallest ideas can gain the best traction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're ideas, you know, we take a mobile dental unit around to harbour sites across Cornwall and parts of Devon to treat fishermen, because they rarely get to see a dentist because of the demands of their work. Now that's a big initiative to do.
Yeah.
But that came from one of our clinicians who happened to go to, I think it was Porthleven Food Festival, and had a chat with the Fishermen's Mission charity, who explained how difficult it was for fishermen. And that's grown into like a really integrated healthcare project where we partner with others and deliver our care in like a one-stop shop. But it started really small. Another good example that we did was during COVID, we couldn't deliver our oral health programme in schools because we weren't allowed to. So we had lots of oral health items just sitting in stock. So colleagues said, well, why can't we donate them to food banks? Use of food banks has increased. So we thought, well, let's do that. And actually that project has grown so that we've now donated about 7,000 oral health packs to food banks, homelessness and other charities, making a difference to people. But that's come from real grassroots ideas amongst our people.
And weaving back to B Corp, you're monitoring the things so you know how much you're giving, those kind of that impact.
Measuring the
model.
impact.
Yeah. Well, as the person who has to do our impact report, I'm really tight on that data because I need it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to have to wrap that up. There's some more questions coming in, but we'll
We
take
can catch those as we go along.
Yeah.
I think just the one thing for 10 seconds is to Amy is to reach out to other B Corps that might be like your business that are already doing it and just ask the questions. They'll either have time or they won't have time. And I think it's that asking, but we try and be helpful wherever we can.
I think you find that most B Corps will open the door to other B Corps because it's that sharing collaboration mentality.
Reciprocity all the way.
Absolutely. And I've already had conversations with some on your first cohort at B23 just to share our journey and our experiences, and we're all really happy to do that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thank you both.
Well,
And
thank
for your
you.
businesses
Thank
and
you,
your teams. Both of you, just fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Well, if we ever need reminding why we should be looking after our beautiful planet, then you don't have to go much further than here at the Lost Gardens of Halligan. We've come down with our friends at Wilderness to find out how their workshop number 2 is going, with everyone taking part in the B Corp 23 programme.
I think the change that we need to see will come from good businesses, individual actions, and regulation and good governance. The first takeaway would be to go outside and look at the amazing planet in which we live and to understand that it's time to pay the rent. There's no business on a dead planet. And sadly, we're headed towards a dead planet. The planet will probably survive, but it'll spit the humans out. I think it's good for all companies to try and help other companies along the way. Yeah, and this is a great event. There's 24 companies going through this process, and that'll be 24 companies who are a greater force for good, which is the fundamental principle of the B Corporation movement, business as a force for good.
Well, it just really matched what we're here to do in Cornwall. So we're a company with a real purpose, and we're really driving an agenda of connecting communities within Cornwall and we really feel it's important that we bridge the digital divide. We thought, well, how can we do that effectively by encouraging other companies to come in and help with this movement? And being a company with purpose is great to say, but sometimes you have to stand up and be counted. So we chose the B Corp as our vehicle to evidence that we do say what we say we will do on the tin. You know, we have to be held accountable for our mission. And then we had a very general conversation with other like-minded people, and this concept of, hey, why don't we do it together? 23 for 23 grew some real legs and some real energy, and the next thing we knew, we were there.
I've come at this from a perspective of being part of needing to find solutions to that consumers can buy into, solutions for the problems that we all face, and it's trying to find something that can help me as a business be better and also communicate that effectively to my customers. It's the energy that you get from these workshops, and it's all coming together, and everyone's got a similar mindset, but also everyone's prepared to challenge each other. And I think that actually that's the good thing. It's not just accepting what you're doing and everyone patting each other on the back. I think there is a bit of gentle challenge.
Well, there we are then. That's our visit to the wonderful, beautiful Lost Gardens of Helican with our friends Wildernett to catch up on their workshop of the B Corp 23, which is now 24 businesses, by the way. Our thanks as always to Wildernett. They're very inspiring. To carry on watching their journey with the B Corp 23 programme, make sure you follow them on all their social pages. Welcome back.
Hello, everybody.
So thank you again to Harry and Tracy for sharing their experiences of becoming a B Corp. We're now going to just talk a bit about the process, and there was a question in the chat which we didn't get to answer. The actual process, or the BIA assessment, is changing. It's going from the 5 pillars that we'll be talking about at the moment. It's still under consultation, and the very earliest that it will actually probably come into action is the end of 2024. So people are aware of that as part of that process. So the process that we're going to talk about now is still relevant for at least another 14 months.
Yeah. And for anybody that does decide to sign in and set up to the BIA and register your account, you will get notices basically saying the new certification is coming, and at a certain point we get asked to migrate across. So all of us who are already B Corps will have to do that in our certification periods, and anybody using it will get that. And actually, I know time is tight and we're going to shorten this little section about process. When Leap did our BIA, I spent a year working on it, hence this B23 is a light version of overthinking that I did for the business. And actually, they phoned up and said the BIA is going to change. And I was like, well, I've just done a year of work and you're telling me it's changed? And at that point, they said, yeah, in about 2 or 3 months' time, the new one's going to come. Your points will be migrated, but it will change. You'll have to go through the information again. So I basically pressed submit on that day.
Yeah.
And a month later, very different world now, it takes longer to become certificated. A month later, we were a certified B Corp.
Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly run through some of the slides. As I think Joanna has shared in the channel, all the process in terms of this slide deck and how to apply, and a bit more about the B Corp movement will be shared as part of this recording. So you will get access to kind of digest in a bit more of a leisurely time.
And all of this is online as well.
Yeah.
So we're guiding you through the process, but it's all there. So we want to get back to the juicy conversations with our certified B Corps.
Yeah, so in terms of when you access the BIA and you become a B Corp, this is essentially what we'll show. As Matt has said, you've got to get over 80 points. The average score for organisations that are not triple bottom lined accounted for sort of like within the UK is around about 50.9. So it is, a significant task, and it is, it is hard. and it's hard for a reason.
It's rigorous, yeah.
Harry explained is that process of getting scored down, but it's across the 5 pillars, and those pillars are governance, workers, community, environment, and customers, which essentially is what the B impact assessment is. So, key components: comprehensive and positive, focuses on proactive management and positive impact, considers all stakeholders and all aspects of the business. It's standardised and adaptive, so it can be based on sector size, so it can work for one-person organisations up to multinationals across the globe. It stays this objective dynamic, so the questions are verifiable, stake-orientated, and independently governed. And as we've just said, there is a version. There should have been a version already published by now, because the version 6 got published in January 2019. But that, because the consultation process has been delayed.
And the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it was every 3 years a new business impact assessment would come out. So LEAP has done 3 in our lifetime.
We have.
But now there's a subtle shift while this new consultation and the global learning. So that's a great thing. This certification and the tools around it forever move.
Yeah.
And that's why we love it so much. It's not about getting to a single spot and you are there.
Yeah.
You've got to keep learning, keep improving yourself, keep being as best you can for people and planet, all stakeholders.
Yeah.
And make some money while you're doing it.
Okay. So, as I say, assessment looks across all elements of the business, and that's the important thing as well. A lot of people sometimes get confused about it just being very environment focused, but it's not. It's about governance, it's about workers, it is about the environment, but it's also about community and customers.
And just a note on the environment, because that was picked up on Tracy's thing. In the UK, just because of our offices, our buildings and our built environment, 70% of our housing and business stock needs improvement. So environmentally, it's not maybe fit for purpose. You can't change that at the moment unless it's knocked down and rebuilt. We don't want that either. We want retrofitting. No. So you'll find environmentally, don't be put off that your environmental footprint won't be as high as you hoped, or not in footprint, your score point. In workers, you'll make up for this because of the nature of being in the UK and the benefits we have in this space. So again, holistically, we're looking at all different levels, and the sum total of the points throughout lead to 80 points.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and what does it measure? So the scored part is the operational impact, but there's also a thing called impact business models. So it's your business has been designed to create a positive impact. The unscored thing, but you have to go through the questionnaire as well as the disclosure part of the process.
And that's 51 questions, no points. Enjoy those questions, because you will laugh and you will be intrigued, but it pulls out maybe the oil giants from the purpose businesses and things like that.
Total transparency, that's what being part of a B Corp is.
Yeah.
Okay, so which companies can become certified B Corp? So it's for-profit companies, any size in any country, and at least 1 year's operation. There is a thing called pending B Corps, and just to, I suppose, demystify what is meant by pending B Corps. That's not organisations that are waiting to become B Corps. They are B Corps that are in operation of less than 12 months. And so they don't go through the rigorous certification process that a B Corp comes, but they are asked to kind of fill in the questionnaire.
Yeah, do a light score.
Lighter one, yeah.
You go through it. The main changes in governance, your mission lot question that you are asked to change your mission, so your articles to be profit related, maximise for shareholders, to all stakeholders, people, planet and profit. Yeah,
starting the business off on the right foot.
Yeah.
Okay, so those two things which Matt was just referring to is, so you pass the assessment, but one of the unique things about the certified B Corp and the B Corp movement is making the legal change. So that making the legal change is the really commitment, and it's changing the articles of association. to make sure that all decisions are not just for shareholders but for stakeholders alike.
Yeah, and I think it might sound complicated to those listening today or those who might listen in the future. Don't worry, as part of our resources, we have a pathway to it, which will simplify. And also, we have lawyers that come and be part of, and solicitors that are part of the B23. So they've got advice and help that's there as well. And B Corp, also B Lab UK, share what those sort of like lines you should change in your articles.
Yeah. Great. So this is the kind of how to become a B Corp. So it's all about the BIA. So the role of B23 is to help you navigate the BIA. There isn't a expected kind of submission from all these organisations, because sometimes organisations can take maybe a few months to go through the BIA, and then others take years. As part of that. So there's no kind of formal kind of ask for our organisations that are part of the cohort to submit by the end of the five pillars.
And we always say you can just definitely not to put pressure on yourself to submit. Ideal if you can, in the sense that you've got all your guides and all the support around you. But we know these things take time, and it could be many businesses just keep using the BIA. It's free. Indefinitely for years, 100,000 plus users, only 3% certified. So you can do the math there that many organisations are using the framework for their businesses, but they aren't certified. Yeah,
and just going back to the slide, there was often questions about how much it costs to become a B Corp. But this, in terms of the process, the kind of there's an annual fee which is based on your annual revenue. Which is paid at this certification stage. There is a submission fee, which we'll talk about later, because that's part of the application process of the B23. But there isn't any other fees involved from a B Lab perspective to do with becoming a certified B Corp, other than the annual fee.
You'd have your annual fee and then that initial submission fee of £250 plus VAT.
Okay, so this is just the kind of timeline or the process that you have to do. So you register on the BIA, attain that at least 80 points, complete the disclosure questionnaire, and then hit submit. And this is the current review process timeline. So as you got from both Harry and Tracy, was the fact that they submitted and then there was radio silence for a few months. That radio silence has improved, and there is more communication about the waiting times involved in this. So you can see this is the time frame from hitting submit. So we're still potentially talking about a year, depending on the complexity of your organisation. But there's a queue at the start of the process, which is called the evaluation, and then you're passed on to an evaluation analyst. Then you go into the verification queue, and then you go into verification. So depending on the complexity of the organisation, this is what happens when you hit submit.
And I think on this, we're doing this very light touch. We can go, part of the B23 is we'll go into this in depth with you. It's also online on bcorporation.uk and the global bcorporation.net, and in your sales of people from different countries, and Systema B in South America. There's all different B Corp sites, but we're all using the same platform. So we'll go into this light in a heavier detail, but be prepared, it's going to take some time. It's not instantaneous. There's work to do. The more work you do, the more you're thorough with your paper trail, as we call it, the easier your journey through the assessment once you're into the analyst verification period. It's all about your paper trail.
All about
or digital trail. It's all online as well. It's all kept within the BIA, so it's in online. You'll get all your notifications through the impact assessment.
So we've kind of covered this. We talked about what the legal kind of thing. It's about that commitment to triple bottom line. It's about creating that material positive impact on society and the environment through its business and operations. And it's that whole element of considering stakeholder interests. So including the shareholders, but it's also employees. We talked a lot about suppliers. We talk a lot about the society, and then obviously really focus on your impact on the planet. But as you say, we've got a whole kind of support network when it comes to that legal change.
And you'll see what all of that boils down to, what it means. And also, it doesn't mean every year you just start spending money, all your profits on solar panels to solar panel, everything you've ever seen in existence. It's kind of balance around where you put. So some years it might be you're working on your people. The years you're working on your premises, your supply chain. And so there can still be profit for those in the business, whether it's a profit share or your investors and stuff like that, but it's looking at it in a holistic way. And that's the bit that's forgotten.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember Rodders phoning me up because they're just around their shareholders and their legal proxy, just going, "What, we have to just spend stuff on the environment now?" It's like, no, you still function as a business.
Yeah.
It's triple bottom line.
Yeah.
So
You have to be
people, planet.
sustainable.
Yeah. And we do that. Some years we've been able to give our team profit shares. Other times we've invested in a new office. We've spent the money on the office. So we explain that to our teams.
Yeah.
But I know time is...
No, I think
we've got our next guests.
Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready to go to our next two, who were part of the first cohort. So really glad that they can share their experiences as part of that, because it will really hopefully inspire some of the people online today to come and join the second cohort.
Well, and yes, those online as well, you may say actually to friends in businesses and other businesses out there, you might go, actually, this would be really good for you. I think it would help your business resilience or your attraction or your place or your legacy. So do feel free to share. I presume this is going to be recorded. This is recorded and we'll be able to share. So yeah. Okay.
Hi, Shane Solomon here. For all you nature lovers and eco enthusiasts, welcome to the breathtaking Newquay Orchard, where today we are touching base for the incredible Wildernet's B23 Workshop Day. It's a remarkable event where 24 Cornish businesses are embarking on a transformational journey towards becoming B Corp certified. Here at the Newquay Orchard, it's all about fostering a sense of community and connecting with nature. And today, we're fortunate to be part of a workshop, 4 or 5, made possible by the incredible folks at Wilderness who have brought these visionary businesses together. Throughout the day, I'll have the pleasure of catching up with some incredible individuals who are taking part in this journey. We'll dive into where they are currently standing on their B Corp journey and explore why they believe it's such a crucial step towards a sustainable future.
Yeah, so we're here today in Newquay Orchard in Cornwall. It's absolutely beautiful. B Corp means everything to me. I've been in business for 30 years, and it's only in the last 12 years, I suppose, that I've really understood that there's another way of running a business, and the purpose of business isn't exclusively just to make money. So for me, finding that actually there's another way of running a company where you can prioritize people and planet as well as profit, which is the foundation of the B Corporation movement, has been something that has changed my life. So to be with a collection of companies which Wilderness have put together to talk about the B Corporation movement and feel this energy and passion to make positive change, like in Cornwall, I mean, it doesn't get any better.
So I came in not knowing what to expect really, but what we're doing at Forever Cornwall is kind of all pitching in together to be part of the B Corp journey. And as soon as I came in, everyone was so friendly. It's a really good bunch of people and everyone's here for the same reasons. So it's really nice to kind of listen to everyone and kind of take away things that they've all kind of learned from these sessions. One of our main missions is to inspire better holidays. So whether that's for communities, the environment, so kind of going through the whole B Corp process just backs up everything that we're already, really passionate about.
The whole B23 idea is brilliant. Over the last 2 or 3 years, I've not had a lot of time out of the office and I've not gone to a lot of events, but this has really piqued my interest, and these days in the diary are sacrosanct, and I'm moving all sorts of things out the way to make sure I can come to these days, because it's I don't know, I think it's the one thing that's going to make a real difference to us. So I think thanks to Leap and to Wilderness and the Chamber in there as well, and it's been a brilliant idea. It can only get better, I'm sure.
It's heartening, to see how these companies are integrating sustainable practices into their day-to-day operations. Together, we'll inspire others to follow in their footsteps and make a difference for our planet. Stay tuned for more exciting interviews and uplifting stories from the Wildernet's B23 Day. I'll see you soon.
Hi, welcome back. We are...
We've changed seats.
We've changed seats. The bright lights and so forth. So we're welcoming the wonderful Paula.
Hello.
Founder of Brightside Physio. And we've also got Julianne, Head of People at Wilderness. And these two wonderful businesses were part of the first cohort. So rather than us talk about the first cohort, we thought it would be great to get your experience firsthand.
And I think especially for like Wilderness as well, for kind of like the whole idea and where we are. Paula, I think also because yourself, you know, being a sort of solo entrepreneur and what was going through you, you know, because we know each other well and we had those conversations. So I think, over to you both. So,
So, Julian, I'm going to start with you first. Tell us about your experience of the first cohort.
So I just think if I take a step back and think why the question you asked about why did Wilderness do it, and I think that's really important for me to address before I talk about our experience.
Yes, definitely.
And first of all, I need to recognise that I'm the custodian of my CEO's Helen Wells' dream. I was delighted that she asked me to be the C-suite sponsor to work towards the beastification. So terribly proud to pick up that mantle for her. But I'm kind of bookended because I've got Helen here in terms of this is what I'd like you to achieve, Julianne. And over here I've got Amanda Pennington, who's our positive impact community engagement manager, who's really been the force and the feet behind what we've been doing.
She has,
so I need to recognise those two individuals as a call out. But then why did we do it? So for us, it was a huge part of our strategy. Then we started to launch Wilderness as a community-based alternative provider of internet services that we really, really wanted to demonstrate to our community that we are here and you will find us a reason to do business with. And apart from that, we also wanted to grow a business that was organically with purpose and had a true mission. And this just seemed like the most brilliant vehicle to do that. And Helen said, come on, Julianne, why don't we try bringing some more people with us? And, you know, this is a great opportunity for us to collaborate in Cornwall, to grow our partnership, to grow our future supply chain. So, we went all in and it's been phenomenal. My personal experience of being a participant in the programme has been nothing but amazing. And we opened with this Inspiration Day and then every month I would just continue to be inspired because it opened up new opportunities. It hasn't just took our business through a bit of a growth trajectory, but it's also took me through my own personal thinking, you know, and choices that I make as an individual, and it's had quite powerful impact on our colleagues that we've worked with. Because it has been a hugely collaborative process with all of our departments to get through the assessment. But this journey, friends, inspiration, beautiful parts of Cornwall, and realising I need to be able to read a map better because you cannot rely on your sat-navs has all been part of this learning journey for me.
Lovely.
Thank you. How about you, Paul?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I've heard about B Corp for years, mainly through yourself, Matt, just drip feeding me information. And I've always assumed, you know, that's for big business, that's for people creating products, and I'm too small fry for anything like that. And it probably isn't for healthcare. But as I've, you know, continued through my career and strive to be really good at my job, I've realised that being good at my job has an environmental impact. You know, I keep people empowered in their own health and preventing them from accessing secondary care and resources. And, you know, the state of our health is entirely dependent on the state of our society and our environment, be that, you know, globally or in your local village. And it became obvious that my business is an environmental business and I have a duty to educate. So this opportunity to be guided through, I I know for certain I couldn't have done this on my own, 100%. But because I'm at present, you know, I work on my own, although I see that my recruitment changing with how my business is evolving. But it is an overwhelming sometimes process, and I didn't understand all the questions, and I would have definitely gone down rabbit holes, and you know, because it's such a clever instrument, the impact assessment, if you answer a question, it opens other questions, or if you answer a question sort of incorrectly, it closes doors, and I think I would have been like, oh, I've got 5 points, I can't go on. But with the help of my B guide and all the people in the room, I've got enough points, which is incredible. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, and you say you should be. Yeah. I think it's probably worth pointing out that the B23 programme, in terms of taking this amount of companies through, the BIA is the biggest the UK has seen, and B Lab have been very engaged in actually the success of it. We've had conversations obviously with B Lab about the process and the benefits and so forth. But personally, what were your key takeouts from the whole journey?
Huge inspiration.
Right.
Like you get these, you know, fires when you're doing things on your own, but they can fizzle unless they're kind of stoked. And the room full of people and the guest speakers, you really think, no, we can make a change through what we do. And you know, this is growing, and Matt's an example of that. You grow around inspiring people, and yeah, it makes you feel very positive and purposeful, like you said, not just in your business, but personally. Like, I will relook at who my pension's with and who I account with, and it affects all of your decisions and gives you a real sense of purpose in your work, your personal life, your community. It's just all good value.
Yeah. And yourself, Julianne, what are your key takeouts?
Yeah, I think it's hard to add anything to what Paul has said, but I mean, the energy has just been enormous, and that fuels you. It fuels you, and if you ever felt like, gosh, you know, this is a little bit onerous, somehow you just kept on going. I also thought it was amazing how generous people could be, and I've heard about how there's this movement within the B Corp, and it is a movement, and I'm thinking, how genuine is that? But for the 24 businesses that were on the 23 programme, you know, it felt really genuine and really real. And our B guide and Scott, you know, I mean, he couldn't have given us more of his time. His company were aware that he was giving us that time, but it never felt like we were intruding. You know, and it also, I don't know about you, Paula, but I actually had some moments of reflection on actually how smart our business is as well. You know, and we don't shout out the good that we do all the time, because it's always, well, what's the next step? What's the next? And there were moments of brilliance that we had as a group to think, gosh, you know, we are genuinely doing a good job here as a purposeful and you know, mission-based employer. And we should take more time to reflect on that. So I think those were some of my takeaways.
And for the teams as well. Sometimes you can be down, you know, I just doing my job and things like that. Actually, they're all part of this. We're here because of their own tenacity, determination, action, belief behind our businesses. Going back to the scale side of things, you know, we never know where growing. I never intended to be out of my bedroom, to tell you the truth, when I first set up Leap as a freelancer. But actually, the framework helps you as a method for scaling. And I remember, you know, Green and Blue has now sold the business on to another organisation, but they were the third business to become a B Corporation in Cornwall. And they came to one of our early sessions, and they always said, we simply want to know how to recruit for scaling. And we thought B Corp would be a really great framework for that. So we've asked the right questions, make the right decisions, do the right policies.
And I think that's really relevant in terms of part of our mission has always been around, as an employer, you know, a good employer, being able to support our workforce with what they need in work, but what they need in life. And I think that, you know, where possible and practicable, but this movement is a great part of being able to deliver on both of those promises. And I think that when we looked at well, there was over 500 employees
Yes,
that would
there
have
was.
been
Yeah.
impacted
Yeah.
by maybe small little changes or just that process of looking at how we engage with our workforces without the Southwest. And that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really big.
And
That
that ecosystem
snowballs
spreads and
out.
spreads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ripple effect on that kind of stuff. So in terms of the journey, where are you in terms of submission or process?
I went into this process at a really ideal time. You know, I went from being part-time private business for a long time and part-time NHS, and I just left to become full-time and bought my own premises. So
Great.
I was at a really good point to renovate sustainably, and so I have enough points, and Rosa, my B guide, is still supporting me through, and she's actually agreed to be one of my non-exec board members.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
invested, right? And she'll keep me accountable, which is another thing I value hugely.
Yeah.
But yes, so I have enough points, but now it's a period of data collection and more actions I need to put into place. And when that's all running smoothly, we'll hit the submit button.
Fantastic, fantastic. Julianne?
We submitted.
Wow.
Yeah, but we're not alone. And again, it wasn't a race to the finish.
Yeah.
We made no promises around any new anybody, I guess, getting their certification. But we pressed 3 weeks ago. We pressed submit. We hope to find out around Christmas whether we've been successful. With 122.5 was our submission in terms of scores. That will be, I'm sure, knocked down a little bit through the validation.
Sometimes
it
goes
may
up.
go up. Who knows?
We've had them go up as well.
But you know, we're not alone. I think we've already done 6 other businesses have submitted through this program.
Last thing I knew is 4, but it could be more. Including yourself, 5.
5, and I think you alluded there was another one just about to go,
Just
didn't
on
you,
the
Simon?
way.
Yeah. So you know, that wasn't what we set out to do, but wow, what a story!
Yeah, we worked as guides. We had our B guides, you know, and but again, that intent of working together. You mentioned energy. The energy, connectivity, and collaboration is so strong that you support each other, just like a marathon or a sports game or something. That's what we managed to do in business, fired up by Wildernet's intent to do your business with community, for community.
And there was always that hope that it would continue past.
Yeah.
And that was great to hear about that support.
Yeah, there's hidden stories that you sometimes, unless we had this conversation, we wouldn't know about as well. So love that.
I think that, can I just do a little bit of a recognition as well, because Wilderness did fund the first cohort, but through Amanda's tenacity and the feedback from the community about the value this is adding, that Cornwall Council have given us some funding to run the second cohort, which again is an amazing achievement. And we're going to get through B23 cohort 2. We're already planning B24.
Oh, cool.
So, you know, this is something that we don't intend of letting go of very soon. It's been brilliant.
Ride the energy wave.
Yeah, we are.
And that's really important to acknowledge is that having an organisation like Wilderness to be able to support these things has been probably the main challenge is why things like this haven't taken place.
Yeah, we were saying that also, like it's a rare moment I find when a business invests beyond itself to support a community in growth as a bigger living system than its individuality. And I think that's the special space here, and actually the future we all talk about: interdependence, working together, collaboration, no egos, no silos, profitability for all, that part of life. I think that's what Wilderness has shown, and all the constituent parts of the people on this. We don't know, your business in years to come could be the same size as Smile. And things, the art of possible. The art of possible is like here, right now. And I mean, I'm over speaking, but I'm such a proud advocate for business and environmental change in our region, let alone elsewhere. But really, our impact on the world starts at home with what we're doing, so individually in that. And I think, again, Wilderness, thank you for allowing this and taking that initiative and, again, bringing us in. Yeah. Paula, thank you for probably defying some of the things that were going on in your head as a sole business person with nobody else to talk to.
Yeah.
To go, actually, I am going to put myself forwards, because it does take time and energy on top of renovating, on top of running the business and things.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, that's an important thing to recognise for any small businesses thinking about it, because it's always the I haven't got enough time to do this because of X, Y, Z, because you are head of finance, head of marketing, head of all that kind of stuff. So recognition to allow yourself to do this was a big thing.
Yeah, it's important though, and you can see the evidence that it's a huge investment. And every pillar day we went to, that was what you came away with, like, yeah, this is totally appropriate. I'm so glad I'm doing this.
And you always got a nice surprise.
Yeah.
As well, both food, location, and speakers.
It's incredible.
I guess one of the things is, imagine it's 5 years later. What have we achieved? You know, 5 years if you hadn't done this intervention. You know, what if we were looking now and we're all on screen in 5 years' time? What might have happened? This is a question I'm asking you. You know, what could you imagine? What's the
Wow. I mean, when I talk to people about what I'm doing, some people know what B Corp means, and some. There's, you know, it's a bit trendy, isn't it? And I think I'm a good example of not being that trendy and going for B Corp. But hopefully...
I don't think we class ourselves as trendy.
No, I'm getting too old for trends.
I think you're trendy, Paul.
Yeah, thanks. But I think people going about their daily business, it would be lovely for them to know the value and what businesses have gone through and what they're now doing as a normal piece of information we all have, rather than it be something that people are like, oh, well, I've heard of that. What does it mean? It sounds like a, you know, an eco stamp that's kind of trendy to have, but actually, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's hard work around that as well.
And for yourself, you know, Julianne, what do you know? I always love the line, and I always forget the number. You always say you've got X amount. How many days is it to do what you need to do?
Yeah, we always say I've got 1,000 days left, and that's what we, in terms of being a force for good in business, that's what we need to drive.
Yeah.
And I think 5 years' time, gosh, you know, I always. This is going to sound a bit strange, but I always believe that sometimes the universe aligns for a reason. Yeah. And I think that's what happened with us on this whole B23 programme. So we're off and running. So as I said, we're here to introduce and hopefully inspire people to be part of our B23 Part 2. And we're already in conversations about B24. Yeah. So where's that going to take us? And, you know, we might start to push the... county boundaries on B24 and go a bit wider. And we'd definitely like to look at other larger businesses who might want to support us with some of that initiative. But I think this is about consolidating the movement for me in 5 years' time. And I think we set ourselves a little... We're not supposed to be hugely ambitious, but we want this B Corp stuff to stop being London-centric, and we think that we will be the biggest community outside of London here in the southwest. But then what does that really mean to Cornwall? And what does that really mean? Well, it's powerful stuff, right? Because this is where businesses come together collaboratively to be a force for good. And where we want to bring about change in our communities, we won't always have to look to local government or MPs or something to make a difference. We'll be able to do that in our business communities.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's where I would like to see in 5 years' time, that we've kept this movement and it's ingrained. And then we are seen from the larger commercial and business communities that look what Cornwall can be. And that's hopefully a nice little opener for you, because we talk about Cornwall can be a lot.
Yeah, and I guess that goes back to audacious goals. In times that we need to push our boundaries of imagination and have those audacious goals, and whether it's 1 million employees that work for B Corps in rural areas, to how they're connected through, you know, rural areas connected through super fast fibre and everything like that. And I think for us, Cornwall can be, it's like any region, what is the art of possible? What can we be? Yes, we're focusing on B Corp in this age, but what is it to get our councils and our industries and our universities,
educational sector,
all of them together to not necessarily become B Corps, because some of them can't because they're not for-profit business, but to measure what matters in our business, which is our place, our sense of space and location, how we inwardly invest, what we bring from the external to the internal. I think that's what Cornwall Can Be is, and would be wonderful to join up the Can Be movements around the world. So we've already got organisations and areas, Amsterdam, New York, I believe Tasmania, New Zealand, Jersey, and we've been working on Guernsey. So Guernsey, you've got a bit of a role to play there. Get a bit of competition going, or do it together as both of you. But we'd love to see Cornwall firstly talking to Scotland Can Be on what their learnings are, just like we're talking now, and then implementing it in Cornwall probably in the next 12 months, just to start. Because you've got to start somewhere, as we know. As we all have on that. I'm just going to questions, put it open to everyone on the live chat about questions. I've got one here from David. David, is probably not something that we can quickly answer because you said about your business being structured around operating as a service company, but the market-facing side is LLP, engages in clients and earns profits. Should we BIA or credit both? Yeah, that's a separate conversation. Yeah, it's just the two organisations. We can definitely have that conversation, David. You can email me. My email will be at the end of the slide. Don't tell the whole world. It's going to go up online so they can see that. But yeah, let's have a separate conversation about that. Any specific questions for our guests? We'll talk now. Let's see if anything come in the chat on that basis. Yeah, I'll just wait for something to come in on that basis. Is there anything while we're just looking like we can share that looking backwards now rather than forwards, that maybe before you'd made the decision, Paula, you would have made taking the action easier? Say you'd never met me, or thing. I know it's quite a broad question, but what would you have done differently
if I hadn't?
Well, like I said, maybe had this course to come on. You're obviously very interested in purpose. You've always been about healthy people and healthy planet. So it's quite a broad question, but like I said,
yeah, I mean, I think if I was left to my own devices, I'd have tried to implement some of these aspects that the BIA asks you, but I think you can get kind of lost in your own ambitions, and I think the beauty of the impact assessment and the community is accountability. Myself, you know, I know my weaknesses and I have lots of grand ideas and don't love administration, and so yeah, I think that's the key thing, that without this I would have come a bit unstuck without that process and checking back all the time and having people to ask, and and like you say, people are so giving with their
really
and I've
generous.
met a couple of people from Smile Together and they're so supportive and giving up their time to talk to you, and even if it's just for encouragement, I mean that's huge for me. That's, as someone who works in a small business, it's everything.
And just going back to it, because Amy just messaged with regard to the question before about the B Corp community, it is that fact that you can reach out to them, and the door's generally always open for people to share.
Is this Amy that we know? Amy Bourbeau?
No, different Amy. Different Amy. But yes, that's the really important thing, is that sometimes in business we can be a bit siloed in terms of the process. And as you say, when we talked about B Corp community, and Matt was talking about this, I felt like, well, this feels a bit slightly strange joining. That's such a collaborative way of doing business.
And energetic.
And you're going, oh wow, that's the energy that feeds you when you have tough days in the office and so forth. Reaching out to that organisation, say, yeah, we're there with you, we can share it. That's really powerful.
Julianne, just thinking on what Simon said, and just yourself, and you know, you've known Helen and worked with for a long time, and you've had various businesses yourself. Like, imagine B23 didn't exist, that opportunity hadn't. You know, what do you think some of the businesses you've been involved in the past? What barriers there might be, or any nuggets of wisdom that you'd like people to know that may never get, you know, this opportunity to be on a cohort?
Yeah, I think if I take Wilderness as a standalone example, I honestly think we probably would have got to going down the B Corp route at some point. But I don't think we would have got there this year.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
and I think it would have been something that we'd put into a massive great project plan,
Yeah.
and then we'd look at our resource,
Yeah.
and we'd look at when it could hit and what could land, and then we kind of just decided in January, no, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it like this, and you know, and okay, we are, and I think
I remember Helen messaging you.
Yeah,
So like, I want to speak to you now.
and we're off, and you know, so we would have got there, but I don't think we would have probably got there as quickly, and I also thought that the conversation with our investors might be a lot harder than it was.
Really?
And
Okay.
actually, how well reciprocated that was in terms of, you know, it's inherent really in lots of businesses now that we've got this planet agenda. And we want to build a sustainable future, not only for our company, for all of our shareholders, but for our communities and for our workforce, right? And the way that we do that is by doing the right thing. And then this doesn't make you do the right thing, but it certainly is a good measure.
Yeah.
And like you said, Paula, it's about someone checking your homework as well. Right? So I can tell you any story I want, but the fact it's going to be independently validated is meaningful. So, and I'm a great one for that validation and that external validation. So we would have got there. If it wasn't B Corp, we might have gone down through a different certification process. But it's hard for me to unpick my story now from this journey. Because it's just been a real privilege to me. And I say to most people who were listening, there's been moments which have been really career highlights for me. And there's been moments where I've been emotionally really moved.
Oh, wow.
Right, just by how powerful this is. And honest to goodness, for, you know, I thank Helen regularly to give me the opportunity to be the one to drive it. Hasn't been a chore.
Yeah.
You know, it's been hard. It's been very hard. But it's not been a chore. So this is it for me. This is how we need to keep pressing forward.
Fantastic.
And I guess why that you want to galvanise, do more of it as well. And there's one thing that I was picking up there, and you might not see it a thing, but in B Corp I found a positive community for better, but there's fun in it. You know, and doing it together is fun. It might not be perfect. We might not, you know, there are different scores, just like a classroom. But it caters for the one-on-one. It caters for all sizes. It's not for like an en masse. But during it, we've had fun. We've experienced everything. We've had laughter around tables. You can see that in all the videos and the films and the photographs and stuff. It might be behind the scenes going, where the hell is that piece of paperwork or something like that. Or we're going to change that. But I do think, and not everybody can experience that, there's an element of fun. And when we're confronting big societal changes and stuff, still remembering that, you know, we've got to have that in there while doing the serious stuff.
Just looking at the time, just got a couple of questions that just wanted to run past you guys on this one. What are the simple things we can start to work on right now before we embark on the B Corp journey to make things easier in the long run? Any suggestions on those?
I mean, simple things like just checking who supplies your electricity and whether they use renewables and just the day-to-day things you have to, consumables you purchase, and are they local? What's their company like? Like really simple changes, and like I mentioned earlier, what pension do you use, and do you recycle? Like little things that loads of businesses do already, I'm sure, but that all count and are an example to your customers. Like we make the effort to recycle our rubbish, like that. You're subliminally affecting other business and your customers, and
But now you're recording how much that rubbish weighs. Or you were already. So I guess one of those things is keep your data. And for a bigger, you know, wasn't it?
Question for you actually, because I think this is quite relevant to you. What would you say to the kind of executives who question your value of time and effort required to certify as a B Corp?
So we had to have that conversation. We have private equity investment. They expect a return on it. There's a date when they expect that return. And we're also,
you know, the custodians of government money that haven't been awarded a significant contract to bridge the digital divide throughout our community. So, you know, whatever initiative that I might think's great or Helen might think's great, we've got a moral obligation to deliver against those two factors. Okay, well, definitely our government money, because that's all of our money. So the conversation we had really took it back to the hard facts. So this is not, and Helen will not deal with anything that is all motherhood and apple pie, right? It has to come straight back to where are we adding value and where can we prove it. So it came back to the statistical evidence around the growth that's being demonstrated in the B Corp companies. It came down to the cost efficiencies we could have around some of our choices, around our supply chain, etc. It came down to our retention and our recruitment targets being met, because it's a massive thing within our next generation of recruitment. It's the first question that people ask, and you know, most of our workforce, if we're asked them, would prefer to be engaged with a business like Wilderness that has a mission, has purpose and a huge community give back above one that's not.
Yes.
Right? So that's a no-brainer. So I might have flipped through that a little bit, you know, top level, but those for me are really the things that you need to keep think out.
You need to have.
But the other thing, right, is that don't immediately assume this is going to cost you lots or take you lots of effort. Because as a business, you know, which deals with sensitive data and customers and everything else, there's a whole heap of standards that I'm obliged to meet as a business anyway. So to meet my own, you know, governance frameworks, which I have to, I'm legally obliged to operate within, I have to demonstrate the governance work that I just produced for the business impact assessment. You know, we have our ESG and charity committees, the work that they do. So don't assume it's an add-on. It might just be a rebadge. Our colleague Embark, most big businesses have them, demonstrates 80% of our people policy. You know, so I didn't have to go out and recreate the wheel for this. Because this is the other part about the whole journey. This is about legitimising something that is in the core value base of a company. And if it's there, you've probably already got it.
And yours on your walls and your office as well.
So you've probably already got it. So do some smart thinking about what this is really going to cost. Don't assume it's going to be costing you more than your reward. Just do that analysis.
Very wise words. And also you've made me think of that, go back to that intervention, 5 years, 3 years. Things are going to get more expensive to implement because the legal stuff is going to come into play over the next few years. So in a way, it's kind of working ahead of the curve to what might be, because as our world and its resources change and shift and economic differences and things, I think those interventions now could save a lot in the future. Even just like the simplest thing of retaining a team member can save the business hundreds of thousands, can't it? You know,
on that basis.
So, you know, averagely you're looking at about £5,000 a year, right? So, you know, it makes sense.
Okay, we're just going to, because I'm conscious of time, and just in case people are having to disappear at 5 o'clock, I'm just going to talk through how to apply. And then if there's any more Q&As, we'll just run through that.
Or
just
sign up to the, you know,
well,
B23, B2.
It's pretty simple in terms of the process. So after today, you've got 6 days to submit your application to join the cohort. And there is a commitment fee. So Matt mentioned before, there's £300, so that includes the VAT to be part of the programme. That, if successful, will go towards your submission fee, which is £250 plus VAT. So essentially, the whole programme itself is free in terms of the application process and the actual cohort. So really valuable in terms of what it gives organisations and businesses moving forward. We will be doing a selection process as of Tuesday, so we're moving fairly swiftly through the process, and the first cohort pillar session will be on Thursday the 7th of September, but we'll share through those. If anybody wants to do that, it is part of the on Eventbrite, the actual application type form, but if you scan this QR code now, you can go straight to that type form. It's pretty straightforward, probably taking around about 10 minutes to fill in, so nothing too onerous, and then hopefully within the end of next week everyone will be...
We will have judged.
We'll have judged them.
I think just to acknowledge a couple of things again, you've got to be trading for 1 year. There's nobody going to see me, so I don't know about that. You've got to be trading for at least 1 year so that we've got some of your data, you've handed in your first accounts and things like that. This is a really rare and special opportunity, thanks to Wildnet, in the fact that if you were working with Simon and I individually as a small business, you're looking at £5,000 of business, So Wildnet have been supporting, all of this, bringing in us in as course directors. So I would say that's just a small business like our own, like Leap, So let alone a big, large organisation. We know of other B Corp consultants that charge £4,000 or £5,000 a month. So it is a rare moment. And although it sounds free, you have still got your time. So just think about time. Your time costs money. Everybody time involves cost money. So think about that commitment. It doesn't always have to be you, but make sure there's somebody from your business that can represent. And to be committed. To involve yourself, to free up that time. The days are very special, as we've all learnt. It's a bit of sanctuary in a busy world, which is hard to separate, but we assure you, you'll be nurtured. You'll meet incredible business and people. So if you're up for the journey on the next B23, we've got 23 places, supposedly.
Well,
subject to soft hearts.
Yeah, subject to that. There is a question, Sarah, in terms of, you mentioned about you've got 2 Thursdays that already clash. We don't know about B24 at the moment, so we can't give you any specifics about that. Potentially
Devon, we might be pushing over the border. So.
So we'll see about that. So unfortunately, those are the dates. It doesn't always have to be the same person that goes to every pillar session. So we've had other people who've made, from organisations, have made different pillar sessions. So that's not always a requirement that's the same person, but it is only one person just because of the numbers that we need to be able to make it work for the spaces that we choose. I can't see any other questions in the chat that we can answer. There is the opportunity to, as I said, email. I'll just go to that slide just at the end. So any questions, please get in touch. Joanna is a wonderful events coordinator, and she is very good at responding to any questions. She doesn't know any
keeping
answers.
Us in line.
Yeah,
keeping everybody informed on the cohort.
So she will be sending out everything from this call so that people can make sure they've got access to the application form, can review the presentation, but also look back on the presentation that we've just been through. So I think that's it.
I think we've covered everything. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to Simon, who's been sort of compadre and MD of Leap, but also just sort of guiding everybody through.
Thank you to Matt. But thank you to Julianne and Paul for taking out your time, because, again, another example of sharing and being part of that community is getting yourself out to bottoming. I know, Julianne, you didn't get lost on this occasion. So
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like you always find some wonderful places.
In the middle of beautiful.
But no, I think thanks for everybody that's tuned in. Obviously, this is recorded. Thanks to Cornwall Channel, everybody. Thanks for all the team at Wildnet behind all this as well, that have just been connecting all the dots. We're hugely appreciative of everybody, and very appreciative of just what Cornwall's ambition is and can be. So as we said, finishing with can be. So
thank you.
Got that as well. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.